make sure to turn your cell phones on silent or vibrate, even if it's a Yuletide ringer. I think the speakers will appreciate it. And again, thank you for supporting our Haiti mission trip. If you haven't yet, make sure to donate at least $10 to Becky over there, and it'll go to a good cause. We'll start with the song, and then we'll get into our speakers. This is a song called Love Has Come. God's mercy He has shown us, and you can find the peace you're looking for. You can find the strength you're hoping for. You can find your way if you have eyes to see. Love has come. Love has come to a world that sits in darkness. Love has come. The angels say there's healing in His fingers. The angels say He can make the blind man see. The angels say that He will bring forgiveness, and you can find the peace you're looking for. You can find the strength you're hoping for. You can find your way if you have eyes to see. Love has come. Love has come to a world that sits in darkness. Love has come. Love has come. Love has come. Sits in darkness, love has come. The angels say that love has come among us. The angels say He will wipe our tears away. The angels say God's mercy He will show us, and you can find the peace looking for. You can find the strength you're hoping for. You can find your way if you have eyes to see. But love has come. Love has come to a world that sits in darkness. Love has come. Love has come. Has come, it has, to a world that sits in darkness. Love has come.
Who am I? Why am I here? Look at this incredible lineup of storytellers that we have, and you have to ask. I mean, I'm asking. Sarah, Chad, David, April, and me. One of these things is not like the others. We have these talented professional actors and writers. I'm not a writer. I sell ice cream for a living. The last time I acted was in the children's Christmas play when I was 10 at my church. And I probably got that role because my dad was a pastor. Now, April's not a pro. No. But she does have a southern accent, and everybody knows all the great storytellers have southern accents. So I've really been pretty intimidated ever since I let David talk me into doing this. Until I realized I'm just here for diversity. I'm just here to represent all the regular people, the huddled masses of unfunny, non-poignant, boring people. So that's by way of introduction, and to sufficiently lower your expectation, I'm the token untalented person.
You're the straight guy.
It's working. And this is my story. December 30th, 2000, Ray and I were asleep in her room in the house where she grew up. A little farmhouse on a little cattle ranch in the middle of nowhere in East Texas. The rest of the house was full of family, some like us in from out of town for the holidays. We were all still asleep. It was 6 a.m. when a knock came at our bedroom door and the sound of Ray's dad's voice. Girls, we've got a problem. Now, I didn't even want to be there, by the way. Don't get me wrong, I love spending the holidays with family and even my in-laws, but we've been traveling for 2 weeks, right? And you know the feeling if you've ever done this. Like, God, I love these people, but get me out of here. I want to go home. I want to sleep in my own bed, I want to eat my own food, sit on my own couch, and be in charge of my own remote. And as all of you who go anywhere else for Christmas know, you also just get so tired of being cold. But there I was. So, doors opened, we gathered in the hallway, and Jake led us down the hall, through the door into his room, their room, where Ray's mother, Rita, lay in bed where she had passed away in her sleep sometime in the night. After 77 years on this earth, she was gone. Now, I have to tell you that in the beginning, my mother-in-law and I didn't get along very well. She didn't like me very much. Rita thought that I was immature and irresponsible. I'm not sure why. I mean, I was immature and irresponsible, but whatever her reasons, 2 years after Ray and I started dating, Rita was still trying to talk Ray into going back to her ex-boyfriend. We'd been married for a year by then. But over the next 15 years, we'd actually become pretty close. I did a lot of growing up, and I think Rita became convinced that I did actually cherish her daughter and take care of her granddaughter. But what probably helped me the most was that Ray's brother and her sister both got married, and after Rita spent some time with her daughter-in-law and her other son-in-law, I didn't look that bad. I'm convinced, by the way, that a lot of life is just who you're compared to. Do you remember back in 1996 when we were all absolutely certain that Bill Clinton could not get reelected, and then the Republicans nominated Bob Dole, and Bill Clinton and millions of Democrats all across the country went, yes, we only have to be more popular than Bob Dole. He was a great guy, he's just not very popular. Now, I didn't know this, but even when someone dies in their own home of obviously natural causes, you have to call the police and the paramedics. And then you have to wait for them to come and to do their stuff. So we all went and sat in the living room, just kind of dazed, raw, in shock. Just sitting on the couch, we weren't doing a lot of talking. Time just gets suspended. People are in and out of the house for hours, there are forms to sign. An ambulance comes up and paramedics get out and they come in the house and they roll a stretcher in through the front door, through the living room, and you're thinking, this is exactly what they do when somebody is sick or hurt. But she's dead. Shouldn't it be different? And there's just this weird dissonance where nothing is normal anymore. Now, Rita and I had really bonded a lot over religion. She taught me that Catholics, who I didn't really know any, but had somehow decided that they were all these serious, ritualistic, is coldly uber-religious people, that she taught me that they could actually be spiritual, joyful. She also taught me that Catholics could be open-minded. Who knew? She was a devout Catholic who also regularly attended these Bible study fellowship classes that were primarily otherwise made up of Southern Baptist women. So she was open-minded, and we shared a passion for social justice. So I came to realize that the stuff that really matters is not the unimportant stuff that we disagree about, but it's where we have common ground. So they roll the stretcher down the hall into the bedroom, and they're there for, it seems like, forever. And you're like, what are they doing back there? She's dead, for God's sake. And then they roll the stretcher back down the hallway into the living room on the way out the door, and that was my first really close look at a dead person. And that's when I got absolute proof that there's an afterlife. See, Rita was full of life and love and joy. She was a passionate person. Everybody who came in contact with her got pulled into her orbit. You could not know her without being affected by her. And I don't know if I can quite explain it, but the body on the stretcher was hers, but it wasn't her. Something was missing, and that something had been so alive and vital that I couldn't then and don't now believe that it just stopped, that it just went away. Our spirits are transcendent, inextinguishable, and I have proof of that now. Christmas probably seems like a really bad time for somebody you love to die, but this was actually a real blessing because we were all together. Any other time, and Jake would have been alone in the house. Any other time, and Ray, who can't fly, would have been 1,400 miles, long ways away, 22 hours of driving. So instead we were all there, and that's what we needed, and maybe Rita knew that. I'm sure that God did. I think God has a knack for making sure where we're supposed to be at special times in our lives. The next few days were a blur. I'm glad I was there. I learned the role of an in-law in a situation like this, which is you're the one who does the things that are hard to do when everyone else is so completely crushed and overwhelmed with grief from losing a mother or a wife, that you can actually function. You find a printer open on New Year's Eve who can print the funeral bulletins at the last minute. You go to the meeting with the funeral director because you're the one who can actually be expected to remember what they said. You negotiate with the priest about an exception to the rule of no recorded music during Mass. And when all is said and done, and the ashes arrive in a plastic bag and have to be transferred to the decorative urn, that's what the in-law does. And that's very odd work. If you were to ask me how you actually take someone's mortal remains and move them from a plastic bag into an urn that's too small for the plastic bag, my response would just have to be, I guess, very carefully. It's an experience that is at once so absurd that you really want to make fun of it, but it's so sacred that you just can't. So anyway, that capped off the week. At some point in those early hours, after all the commotion had passed, Jake called us into the living room and read to us from a poem by Felicia Dorothea Hemans, which I would like to read you today. And this is in memory of Rita, and it's for the loved ones that many of you have lost. It goes like this. Calm on the bosom of thy God, fair spirit, rest thee now. Even while with ours thy footsteps trod, his seal was on thy brow. Dust to its narrow house beneath, soul to its place on high. They that have seen thy look in death no more may fear to die. So I want to leave you with these two things that I learned 11 years ago. One, spend as much time as you can with the people you love. And two, when you find yourself wishing you were somewhere else, remember that God really does have a way of calling us to be in the right place at special times in our lives, and we never know when a special time might come. So be where you are, wherever that is, and be with the ones you love, whoever they are, especially now. Merry Christmas.
4 years ago today, on December 11th, my son got an early Christmas present, his stem cells. Our Christmas journey had begun 6 months earlier when he was diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor. The tumor was removed, and what followed was 5 months of inpatient chemotherapy. Now we were at the end of this road. His last and best hope for a cure was to receive a final and possibly fatal high-dose chemo that would be followed by stem cells that had been removed from him 6 months earlier. What I'm going to read to you are excerpts and notes from my diary that I kept during that Christmas 4 years ago. December 3rd, 2007. Finally, all those nights in the hospital are behind us. All those nights of never sleeping in the same bed with my wife because we were alternating nights with Liam. All those days of working a full-time schedule at the same hospital where he was being treated, only to get off work and go straight to another floor to hold our 2-year-old baby. We can finally see the home stretch. In 1 more month, this will be behind him. We have to give this last therapy our best shot because he won't be a candidate for much else if the tumor comes back. Yesterday, we checked into our hospital holding cell for the transplant, and that's exactly what it feels like. It's a full isolation unit with 10 rooms on our wing, all protected behind a sealed barrier door. And once you're through there, it's creepy quiet. The other patient room doors are closed at all times, and most of them have covered the 2-by-2-foot little peephole window on their door. And first I couldn't really figure out why, but now after being here for a few hours and seeing a head pop through the hole every few hours or a few minutes, you start to feel like a zoo creature. Right now, it just feels like the first day of school. We don't know the rules, the players, or where to go or who to ask to get special treats, like ice. We were handed a list of do's and don'ts as soon as we got here. Here are my favorites. Hands must be washed before you touch the patient. Duh. No sleeping on the floor or the windowsill. Do not use the restroom. On that last one, I'm assuming they mean for us not to use the patient's restroom, otherwise Liam might have to share his diapers. So far, he seems glad to be here. At least it's a change of scenery for the past 5 months. They're hydrating him now, and we'll start the carboplatin around 4 a.m. December 8th, 2007. I've learned a lot about my son this week. First, it hit me that he's really darn smart. I guess I secretly knew this all along, but this week I've been bowled over by him. It's inevitable that it would happen, considering that the two of us stare at each other all day with nothing else to do but talk. Today we had a pretty exhausting morning. They started him on his next 2 drugs, Thiotepa and Etoposide. The Thiotepa is excreted through his skin, so I had to be gowned and gloved if I came in contact with him. And that kind of scares him. He also has to have 2 baths during the day to wash the drug off of his body, and this is tough since there's no tub or shower in our room. Luckily, we had a heads up on this, and we brought along a small bathtub that we fill in the little sink in our room. After all that, it was time for lunch, but he looked at me with the sweetest stare and said, "Put it away, Mama. I'm too tired to eat." And he curled up and went right to sleep. Poor kid, but what great sentence formation. The second thing I've learned about Liam is he's got a wicked sense of humor. He hates to eat. People say that chemo changes the taste of food, and for Liam, there's very little that tastes good right now. His diet consists of pickles, spicy Cheetos, and milk. During breakfast today, I was determined that he was going to eat something, so the battle of the wills began, and it went something like this. Me. Liam, how about you try some sausage? Liam, how about you try some eggs? How about you try some toast? To which he replies, how about you try no? And so it goes. Sometimes he throws me a bone and takes a little nibble. Today it was a piece of bread. Most of the time it's a lost cause, so we may have to do some supplemental feeding if he loses weight. Tomorrow is day -4. They count down backwards until you get the transplant, which is on day 0. His stem cell gift isn't far away, and each day we get a little closer to our goal. Thank God. December 11th, 2007. This afternoon at 2:30, 2 lab workers wheeled in Liam's frozen stem cells. Everyone kept telling us that this was going to be completely uneventful. I now realize these are the same people who also think that filet mignon is just another piece of meat. It was an amazing sight. I felt like we were on the ark. 2 nurses came in, followed by 2 doctors. No one would speak or make eye contact. Everyone was somber. Liam was asleep, and all I kept thinking was, this can't be happening. The lab workers rolled their cart to the center of the room. One of them approached me and asked me to confirm Liam's full name and date of birth. And for a moment I thought, oh God, please don't let me say the wrong thing and have them take this stuff away. Then one nurse stood at Liam's side and read his ID band aloud to the other, who cross-checked it with the ID band on the frozen bag of cells. And when everything was confirmed and the physician signed off, the nurse signed off, the lab workers signed off, and they began the thawing process. One nurse quickly hung the bag, and then we were off. From start to finish, it took 35 minutes. The downside was that he smelled pretty metallic for 3 days post-transplant. The cryopreservative they use gives off a nasty, foul smell. The nurse said it smelled like creamed corn, and another said it smelled like tomato soup. Either way, both were off my grocery list. December 17th, 2007. Liam and I were snuggling in bed this morning. He's been having high fever since the transplant, and his central line looks infected. After a transplant, the last thing you want are fevers, infection, or illness, and Liam's got 2 of 3. Luckily, they're treating him aggressively with antibiotics for the infection and morphine for the mucositis. He's now lost the ability to speak because the mouth sores are so painful. We knew that all of these things could happen, but that's not to say you're prepared for them when they do. And so today we began week 3 of confinement. I was feeling pretty low this morning. Why bother getting up and getting dressed? I'll be covered in my child's vomit in a matter of hours. This room is closing in on me, and while I know I shouldn't complain, I can't help but cry at the thought of what he's going through. I was trying to steel myself up for the week ahead when in walks the nurse's assistant for the day, who introduces himself like this. Hi, I'm Jesus. I'll be taking care of you today. No lie. Jesus, Jesus, whatever you want to call him, just walked into my room. And if Liam hadn't been snoring away on top of me, I would have fallen out of bed. Well, that was just what I needed to get me up, dressed, and on with life. So now we wait. Today, we're day 6 on post-transplant. All Liam wants to do is be held, and I can certainly do that. They expect his graft to kick in between day 10 or 14, so we're halfway to the point where he should start feeling better. Hopefully, by Christmas Day, his stem cells will have migrated home, and we'll start producing lots of red cells, white cells, and platelets. Think we can wrap that wish and put it under the tree for him? I'll run it by Jesus when he reports for work tomorrow and see what he says.
I hate Christmas music. I hate the sound of children singing even more, but I really hate Christmas music.
It's not a good confession to make.
Statistically speaking, the rate of depression goes up astronomically during the holiday season, and I think that we can all blame Christmas music. It's forced upon us whether we're in the grocery store, the car, or flipping through channels on television. And almost every single Christmas song is about people being alone, or dead grandparents, or some maniacal old man in a red suit who stalks and preys upon small children. And Gene Autry is public enemy #1. His Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is nothing more than a horrifying little ditty about a gang of reindeer who bully someone just because they are different. Because he has a red nose. They would laugh and call him names and wouldn't let them join in their little reindeer games until Santa was all, "Hey, I have a job for you." And then what happened? Then all the reindeer loved him. Like, that was his big "it gets better" moment. Frosty the Snowman is a song about a ball of ice with 2 eyes made out of coal, traditionally a gift given to bad children, that becomes possessed when it acquires a hat and pipe. He taunts children before he melts, and he says, "Don't you cry, I'll be back again someday." I prefer to think of this as a song about alienation and rejection rather than idle threats of revenge. Santa Claus is coming to town. This song scared the crap out of me as a child. There's not a single line in the song that's cute. You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Here, Autry portrays Santa Claus as a sociopathic stalker who apparently will end your life if you're naughty. Now go back, when you get home tonight, go back and look at photos of yourself as a child when you had to go to the mall and sit in his lap. Now you will remember why. You blocked it. Collectively, we all have Mall Santa Stockholm Syndrome. And if Santa Claus is coming to town, if that was the warning shot, the next song on the radio is usually "Here Comes Santa Claus," telling you, too late, here he comes, you can't run, you can't hide. Instead, the lyrics inform children to jump in bed and cover their head. There are songs about children walking in on their parents' infidelity, like "I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus." Nothing cute about that. It's basically a song about a homewrecker. And it wouldn't be so cute if it was "I Saw Daddy Kissing Santa Claus." Then there's songs like Wham's "Last Christmas," in which George Michael gave his heart to whom I can only imagine was Andrew Ridgeley. And what did Andy do? The very next day, he gave it away. Nice. There's a word for that, but I can't use it in church. So George continues, "This year, to save me from tears, I'll give it to someone special." Very shortly thereafter, he met someone in the park in Beverly Hills. Winter Wonderland has been recorded by over 150 recording artists and stars, and I've never understood why the couple building the snowman pretend that he's a preacher who says, "Are you married?" That's this talking snowman's first question. Not a "Merry Christmas," he says, "Are you married?" And you have to admit it's a little creepy when little children sing it, and they respond, "No, man, but you can do the job when you're in town." And I'm not even going to get into the passive-aggressive songs to slit your wrist by, like, "I'll be home for Christmas if only in my dreams," or "I'll have a blue Christmas without you," or "Please come home for Christmas." Those are all pretty self-explanatory. They suck. Cry me a river. Like Joni Mitchell's "Wish I Had a River I Could Skate Away On," where she sings about cutting down trees, a lot of trees, and how someone loved her, but she didn't love him, so what does she want to do? She wants to skate away. That's nice. "It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year" has a single lyric that has stumped me in all of my years. See if you know what I'm talking about. "There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling out in the snow."
There'll be scary ghosts.
Who tells ghost stories at Christmas time? I write horror movies, and I've never once said, "You know what, this office party could really use a ghost." Let's all gather down by the fireplace, and let me tell you about the headless elf who wanders the Super Walmart looking for children's souls. Never happened. But it is the subject of my upcoming movie, Stumpy the Elf and the Massacre on Aisle 5. The 12 Days of Christmas sounds like a good idea when you first look at the list of presents, until you start to look at the list of presents that this idiot gave his true love. Partridge in a pear tree? Cute. 2 turtle doves? Okay, they don't live very long. 3 French hens? There's dinner for Christmas Eve. 8 maids a-milking. 9 ladies waiting. It's pretty much the worst drinking song of all time. And if you actually listen to the lyrics of "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas," you realize that there's nothing depressing about the song at all. It's the slow, melodic, depressing pace of the song that makes you want to stick your head in an oven full of gingerbread men. It's the Old Yeller of Christmas songs. Close runners-up are "White Christmas" and "Silver Bells." "Do They Know It's Christmas" was written about famine relief. I can't decide if it's more insulting to the people of Ethiopia or the people listening to the song. Exhausted from all your shopping and parties? There are people who don't even know it's Christmas and don't have food to eat. Happy holidays, you bourgeois pig. And dare we not forget the pinnacle of awful Christmas songs, the new song classic, "The Christmas Shoes." It's a song about a boy who just wants to buy his dying mother a pair of shoes. Or as Lifetime calls it, Sunday night. Which brings me to "Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer." Highly unlikely. The lyrics tell us Grandma got run over by a reindeer walking home from our place Christmas Eve. First off, everyone knows that Santa parks his sleigh on the roof. So he was nowhere near the street. Secondly, who lets their grandma walk home? The lyrics tell us she had had too much eggnog, and they begged her not to go, but she left her medication home, so she stumbled out into the snow. No old woman should be walking out in the snow alone, especially if she's drunk. So obviously, Grandpa would be distraught, right? Catatonic that his wife of many years has been mowed down by a reindeer. No. The next day, Grandpa's in the living room watching football, drinking beer, and playing cards with Cousin Belle. Because that's normal. I don't claim to be a crime scene expert, but I'm guessing that if the police checked Grandpa's garage, they're going to find little grandma pieces in the grill of Grandpa's cabinet. It's like the song was written by the Notorious B.I.G. Imagine that interrogation. It was a reindeer. Yeah. She was just walking home and gone. I'm not a big Santa Claus fan, but clearly he was framed for murder. I mean, not all Christmas music is bad. There are some songs that come on the radio that are fun and happy, upbeat, like Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, Jingle Bell Rock, All I Want for Christmas Is You, and of course the Chipmunk song. But Away in a Manger, Oh Holy Night, Hark the Herald Angels Sing, Oh Come All Ye Faithful, that's my flavor. They never talk about missing people or rushing out to buy Christmas presents. There's no fear of a psychotic snowman nipping your nose off, or a fat guy breaking into your house in the middle of the night, or some rat who claims that all he wants for Christmas is his 2 front teeth. I want my Christmas music to be about Jesus and his birthday. I imagine that if Mary were to visit Hollywood Highland today, and she heard people singing carols, she'd be all, I was a virgin who went into labor during tax season and gave birth to a Messiah in a cold barn without lights, electricity, heat, or a doctor, and had to put my baby in a food trough. You're sad because your loved one isn't going to be near you? Ooh, my son was crucified on a cross for your sins. Man up, Elvis. Grow a set. Merry Christmas.
In the middle of October, but every year as a child, and frankly into adulthood as well, growing up in Michigan, I would wish for one thing for my birthday: snow. It didn't matter if it had been 65 degrees and sunny for the entire fall, or that a hayride and a bonfire was planned for my birthday party. I wanted snow. You know why? Because it signified to me that Christmas was near. We won't talk about the occasional May snowstorms that most sane people in Michigan cursed. Christmas. The golden season. The time of year when no matter what goes wrong or what is happening in the world, all seems perfect. Perfectly jolly and happy and merry. Christmas. And nothing symbolizes the Christmas season to me more than the Christmas tree. The green or pink or white or blue or whatever color fur that adorns living rooms and shopping malls and sweatshirts. The one I wore in middle school that lit up, the tree on that sweatshirt tells you a lot about my fascination with the Tannenbaum, and a little something about how many friends I had in middle school. And for me, it's always been the tree that holds a very special place in my heart. Whether it's the tree of boys, more on that later, or the first tree I bought, or the trees I wear continually on my ears all season long. My obsession with the Christmas tree probably began long before I can remember. At least that's what we'll say for the sake of this story. Every year on the day after Thanksgiving, my father would drag the tree out of its box in the basement and he'd set to assembling it. Now mind you, as I got older, I was a big help, but as a youngster, I think I was probably hurting more than helping. He'd assemble the tree, swear at the lights that never ever worked, go to the local hardware, buy some more, and try again. This is one of my favorite parts of Christmas and one of the things I miss most living 2,000 miles away from my family. Once the tree was up, the ornaments would be unpacked. And in my house, it's not just a handful of pretty bulbs and some candy canes. There are no less than 5 television boxes. These are from back when televisions were the size of a Prius. That are full of hundreds of tiny boxes, holding the treasures that adorn the tree. And each has a special memory or meaning. To this day, I can close my eyes and picture my parents' tree and my favorite ornaments and tell you if they're in the right place or not. This is a bone of contention in my family, and as my mother proudly told me on the phone a few weeks ago, she didn't move one single ornament this year because she heard me lamenting in her head about this, most likely sarcastically. My tree fixation continued on throughout my childhood as I was cast in a church pageant one year as, wait for it, yep, a tree. Now I like to think this is because I love what the Christmas tree stands for and the important role trees played in the story of Christmas, They did, I swear. That part was just edited out of the Bible to save on printing costs. But more than likely, it was because I was, and still am, a horrible actor who, gun to my head, couldn't remember or recite my name and birthday on command. So here I was, a tree. My parents made this great sandwich board that I'm sure is still in their garage somewhere, and glued cut-up pieces of garland to it. And I killed as one of the 3 trees that year. I'm sure I did. Yes, yes, very sure. Anyway, when I moved away from home for college, I realized that it was time to start my own traditions. My second year at school, I lived in a house with 3 other girls and 3 guys. Yep, that meant the girls had control of the house because we outnumbered the guys. So that year, we got the employees in the physical plant to bring us a fake tree that wasn't being used in the cafeteria, and we set to decorating it. But we were poor, very poor college students who had no decorations, no lights, nothing. Little aside, one of the guys in the house was so poor he kept his car running by keeping it plugged in all winter. He literally ran an extension cord through a window in the living room out to a heater on his engine block. And no, we never thought about silly things like the college's electricity bill. And because we were so poor, we did what any sensible young college girls wanting to celebrate the season of Jesus' birth would do. We made a tree of boys. Yep. We spent hours combing through magazines and cutting out pictures. We printed photos off the internet in the computer lab. And we made hangers out of paper clips. And let me tell you, our house was a pretty popular one that year. We'd come home from classes to find new pictures added every day. Some from other residents of our house, some from students who'd heard the tale of our tree and found their way over, the door always unlocked, and taken it upon themselves to add to our masterpiece. And before you think we were scary stalkers, the boys were all celebrities and it was all in good fun. At least that's what we told the guys in the house when they objected. And if I remember correctly, they eventually got in on the fun too. When I started grad school, I moved into an apartment with my sister and a friend. Our first Christmas there was a bit more traditional. We put up an old tree my parents delivered to us and bought some lights. Then we set to crafting. We found ornament templates online and colored them and then laminated them. We took the rings of mason jar lids and wound ribbons around them. We used glitter glue to write our names on sheep stockings, and we spent hours studying around the tree. We didn't need anything more. But then when I moved to Arizona, Christmas lost some of its luster. It's hard to get excited about the winter holiday when it's 110 degrees outside. For the 2 years I lived in Arizona, there was no tree in my apartment. For the first year here in Los Angeles, there wasn't either. But then I made a decision. I wanted my own Christmas tree. I wanted to start the season well before the day I'd make my way back to Michigan late in December each year. So Angela and I went to Walmart. I'm sure Clark Griswold's family wishes he'd known about Walmart back then. And we found the perfect Christmas tree. And now we spend about an hour decorating and then several weeks sitting by it each night throughout the Christmas season. So my obsession with Christmas trees is a long-standing one, and I'm okay with that. I have these awesome memories of staring at the lights night after night with family and friends. And if I don't wear my glasses, the tree becomes this impressionist mosaic. It's really cool. I have these awesome memories of fighting over dead lights and broken icicles. You know, the glass kind, that break even if you sneeze in their direction. They adorn every inch of my parents' Christmas tree, and shards of glass cover the house for 6 months after the tree comes down, when most of them are snapped in half. And I have these awesome memories of each and every tree that I have seen and worn and lovingly placed packages under. And while I still have the tree pin I wore back in the 80s, in my shoe today, and I still wear the Christmas tree earrings my grandmother gave me back in the 90s on my ears, and I still have the first Christmas tree ornament I ever received, a little mouse sleeping in a matchbox that was gifted to me at age 2 months by another two-month-old. The tree that I hold dearest and think most fondly of, that tree of boys. I mean, really, if you can't have George Clooney under your tree Christmas morning, the next best thing is to have him smiling at you from among the branches.